The American left is sending a very clear signal, a clear message that it wants to get rid of the very basis of the American system of government and the rest of our culture, too, for that matter, but specifically the U.S. Constitution and the Bill of Rights. We'll throw that in there, too. The New York Times featuring an op-ed asking whether the Constitution is dangerous. The Constitution is dangerous, writing, Americans have long assumed that the Constitution could save us. A growing chorus, at least of the New York Times, now wonders whether we need to be saved from it. And last week, the Los Angeles Times, out there on the other coast, on the left coast, featured an op-ed that wrote, we're living under a flawed Constitution. Let's start fresh and rewrite it. Now, this is, you were starting to go to town on this already, Tiana. This is the dean of the law school at UC Berkeley in the Los Angeles Times, right? And it's time to do away with the Constitution, which means the Bill of Rights, which means free speech and religion and the Second Amendment, which are also very much under attack every day by the Democrat Party.
I mean, this is sort of Erwin Chemerinsky's whole shtick, right? Try and run away from the rules and then rewrite the rules when he gets slapped in the face with reality. Like, so for instance, Jason, this will actually, I'm curious to hear your take on this. Part of his rationale for why free speech shouldn't be absolute is based on an incident when a bunch of pro-Palestinian protesters came to his backyard to protest because him and his wife were Jewish. They were hosting a dinner for Jewish students. And my takeaway wouldn't be that free speech is an absolute. It's that private property rights are private property rights and you can't go into someone's private property. But he views it as, oh no, we need to change the rules around free speech. He originally wrote Broadsides Against Originalism, and now it's about doing away with the Constitution altogether because it makes political victory for progressives too difficult. And I don't know how you square that with the fact that it's because of the Constitution that we eventually get the vote, that we fight the Civil War, because we are trying to realize its original intentions rather than modify it to serve our baser needs.
You should also recognize that they're teaching at universities like Berkeley students to be anti-Semites and to be like the German Socialist Workers Party.
And anti-American, right? It's, look, America, it's been a successful experiment. It's not been perfect, obviously. There's been imperfections, there's been issues, but no question that when you look at the Constitution and you look at the separation of powers, you look at checks and balances. You know, I was just at CPAC Mexico. We were dealing with a lot of these countries from Latin America. Let me tell you something. The mere fact is when you have the executive branch and the judicial branch so powerful and so strong, then you end up with situations like Venezuela, where Maduro did get beat in that election, yet it was the Supreme Court that said, wait a second, no, he's in charge.
But Chavez packed the court before Maduro even got there. So here's do away with the Constitution, and the Bill of Rights is antiquated. And, you know, when the mob comes to your backyard because you're Jewish, maybe the Constitution's the problem.
So I think, to your point, first of all, free speech is not absolute. That's one of the missing pieces, and it seems like there's a fundamental misunderstanding. You can't defame people. You can't libel.
Perjure.
Perjure. There are all kinds of speech, limits upon speech. The other thing is I think there's a misunderstanding on the Constitution because it's a living, breathing document. We amend it. It's been amended 27 times.
That's right.
So this idea that, oh, we need to scrap it is ridiculous. We had an 18th Amendment, and then we amended that amendment. Like, so it doesn't make much sense.
No, that's how you're 100% right. I'm afraid we've kind of run out of gas real quick.
Well, honestly, whenever the left starts up going after the Constitution, my hair goes up on the back of my head, and I think that's enough to summarize that.
As it should. Well, it's almost as if they're not on our side. The Democratic Party isn't democratic.